episode of the Because She Can series. I am so excited about my guest today. I have Ashley Ehrhart with me, Miss Oklahoma USA 2022. She's going to represent Oklahoma at the Miss USA pageant in October. She was also the National Sweetheart pageant winner last year and is the founder of the A Minute to Mind podcast and an NBA dancer for the Oklahoma Thunder. So welcome, Ashley.
Hi, Hannah. Thank you so much for having me as a fellow podcaster. This is so exciting to kind of be on the other side of it. So I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you as a guest. I know that we have a lot to discuss. So I want to start with Miss Oklahoma USA. You won on your very first try for the title. That's
Right.
incredible.
Yeah.
What was your mindset going into it? And then what kind of preparation do you think was really the key to your success?
Right. So that's a great question. First and foremost, my mindset, believe it or not, actually was not where I wanted it to be going into it. And that's actually because so I checked in on a Saturday. That Friday morning, the Friday before, I actually had to put down my dog of 15 and a half years. That was really hard before going to compete for a state pageant. So I actually had a moment where I sat on my living room floor that night as I was trying to finish packing, and my mom was over and she was helping me pack, and I told her, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can go stand on that stage and be my very best self. And once she shared some things with me, we kind of had that mother-daughter moment. I realized that, you know what, I absolutely could. Of course, I wanted to be in a better headspace, but I knew that I had the strength to persevere. And so that's what I did. When I stepped onto that stage, I had to find it within myself to remember the dream that I had, remember the dream that I had to represent my state. And once I got there to the Miss Oklahoma USA pageant, I truly felt at home. It was my first year. I was going in completely new to the experience, but I felt like I was home. And so I think I kind of got to relax. Once I got there, I was able to kind of shift because, as competitors, we want to be our very best selves. We want to be in our best physical shape, emotional shape, mental shape. We want to be the best of the best at our sport. And so once I got there and realized that I was striving for a form of perfect, being in the perfect headspace, being in the perfect shape that didn't exist, I realized that I was perfect just the way I was. I was going in with, the stress of going through something like that. I was going in knowing of the work that I'd put in. I combined all those things together and really just decided that I was going to be my very best self no matter what. So I think my preparation also kind of allowed me to overcome any hiccup or challenge or unexpected circumstance that arose. For me, my preparation was really just making sure that I didn't leave anything off the table. I wanted to be 1% better each and every day, whether that looks like reviewing my paperwork right before I went to bed, just in case, the judges asked something from my judges form, whether that was sitting down, having conversations like you and I are doing now, practicing those interview skills, every little thing that I could do that was going to make me 1% better, I did. And they were things that were kind of mindless that I didn't really have to think about, that didn't require a lot of effort, but they all eventually accumulated and added up to something great, which was the title of Miss Oklahoma USA. So again, I went in kind of in a shocked state of mind from going through something so hard and so personal, but I realized that even still, I had the strength to keep going, and it all paid off in the end.
And I think that 1% better idea works really well if you're competing for the third, fourth, fifth, or sixth time, right? If you can just be 1% better than you were the year before, you're already improved. So for
100%.
those of us who have competed a few times, I think that's a huge, huge deal. And again,
Absolutely.
with the mindset, I feel like it's really hard to get down on yourself for saying, oh my gosh, my mind isn't in the right headspace. I need to get it there. And then you just get more and more stressed. So I like that you kind of said that you felt at home, and that was just kind of gave you this sense of calm almost.
Yeah, absolutely it did. And I think, and again, it just must be a competitor thing, a pageant thing, but so many people can relate to trying to find that perfect state of being. And sometimes you can end up stressing yourself out. You're too tense, you're unfocused, you become unorganized. But I think once we let go and realize that it's okay to not necessarily have all your ducks in a row. Of course, you want to have them as neat as possible, but perfect isn't realistic, and that's okay.
Ooh, I love that. Perfect isn't realistic. Ooh, maybe that's the episode title.
I love
Uh,
that. Look at that. Right off the bat, we got it.
I want to ask a little bit about mental health because you and I both focus on mental health as part of our pageant platforms. And I wanted to ask, why did you choose to focus on mental health? Where did that come from?
So for me, it came from recognizing that I was not the own feeling how I was feeling. And what I mean by that is in February of 2016, I was diagnosed with depression. And I was at a point in my life where I was a collegiate athlete. I was leading my college's women's 4x1. I was the lead leg for our relay. We were competing for a national championship title. I had excellent grades. Things were going great. So I didn't really understand how depression could happen to someone like me. But what I quickly realized was that depression is no respecter of persons. It doesn't care where you come from, what you look like, what you've been through, what you've yet to go through. It really doesn't matter. It's something that anybody can go through. And so once I kind of accepted that for myself, got the help that I needed, I realized that I was not the only person. I was not the only young woman. I was not the only athlete. I was not alone in feeling how I was feeling. And so then once I realized that, I realized the difference that I could make by telling my story. So that's kind of where it all started. Really, it kind of began for me as far as with my platform 2017. And since then, it's just been able to grow. And I've coined it Defeating Depression, Promoting a Healthy Mind. And I've been able to visit schools and speak with administrators, teachers, counseling centers, state legislators about what we can all do to make sure that a healthy mind is a possibility for everyone.
I love that. I love that you've kind of taken that experience and one, you're not afraid to talk about it. I feel like
Right.
that really helps battle the stigma that we have about mental health. Just everybody talking about it openly. Two, I like that you've gone out and kind of shared it with the community. I think that's really
Thank you.
huge.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I want to reiterate that depression can happen to anybody, right? Like you seemed so successful. Like, why wouldn't you be
Right.
elated about the situation that you were in as an athlete, as somebody doing well in school? But you could be the most successful person in the world and you can still get depression. So I
Right.
think that's a really important thing to know. And those of us who have never experienced it, we literally cannot imagine what it feels like. We haven't been in that position.
Right.
So that led you to create your podcast, A Minute to Mind. So tell me more about the podcast.
Yes, the podcast, it was on a little pause for a little bit. As you know, podcasting takes a lot of work. It's so much fun. It's so rewarding, the reach you have to be able to use your voice and utilize the voice of others. It's fantastic, but it's a lot of work. So I took a little bit of a breather. I was, had so many things going on and took a little bit of a pause. But it was just that. I realized that the way our world is working, there are so many facets to be able to promote yourself, what you stand for, what you believe in, to be able to impact and create change in ways that we haven't been able to do in years past. So I think once I started to realize that social media was growing, reels were becoming a thing, people were starting to listen to podcasts. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to jump in, while I can. So that's kind of where it started for me. Is I saw that the reach I had, the avenue I could take with podcasting, and really just the impact that I could make. So that's why I started my podcast, A Minute to Mind. It really just is that, a minute to mind the things that matter and try not to dwell on the things that don't. Because I feel like in today's world, there's 24 hours in a day, but sometimes it feels like you have 30 hours worth of work to do within those 24. And so it's just a minute to kind of mind the things, like I said, that matter, and let go of the things that just really don't.
That's amazing. I love that. I
Thank
agree.
you.
Sometimes now that I'm also a student again, I'm like, I don't have any time for the
Right.
5 million things on my checklist, and it can get really overwhelming.
For sure
It
it
can
can.
induce a lot of stress.
It can. And I was just telling my mom that the other day of like, man, I just wish there was more hours in the day. Like I wake up in the morning and I've got my checklist. I have a great game plan, sometimes even detailed out to the minute. At 8:30, I'm doing this. At 8:35, I'm doing this. But it's often life's way of being funny and throwing you a curveball in the middle of the day. And so by the end of the day, I've accomplished about half the list and the rest gets pushed to tomorrow. So it's kind of, again, just taking a deep breath and doing what you can.
Yeah. Are there any tips or tricks, mindfulness related, that you've learned on this journey to make your podcast that you think everybody should know?
As far as with, so as far as with podcasting directly, but I think really just in any facet of life, don't be too hard on yourself. There are times, especially with directly related to podcasting, there are times where I will spend hours and hours and hours editing because I can hear something or something doesn't flow just right. And I have just created it myself up in this big stressed frenzy when really it's not that big of a deal. It really doesn't matter as much as I think that it does. And again, I mentioned earlier, like striving for an unattainable perfection. I think a lot of just trying to be successful at anything, it can look like that. It can look like striving for an unattainable perfection. So I think just taking a step back and not being too hard on yourself, giving yourself grace, whether that be in podcasting or any other facet of life, really just allowing yourself, room to grow. And the only way to do that is to kind of let go sometimes and learn from mistakes. So yeah, I think my biggest tip would be to just not be too hard on yourself.
I could definitely
You
learn
agree?
from that one. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think especially
Yeah.
as pageant girls, we're really hard on ourselves. We're
Mhm.
so aware of every little thing because we want everything to be perfect. So we, I think, can especially be our own worst critics.
Yeah.
I do want to ask a little bit about your dance career because you
Mhm.
are a dancer in the NBA, and I
Mhm.
remember when you got the
Oh,
call.
yeah.
We were at the National Sweetheart pageant when you got the
Mhm.
call. I think about your audition,
Yeah.
and now you are a dancer for the Oklahoma Thunder. So
Yeah.
what has that experience been like?
Yes. So as you remember, okay, I always have to remember the timeline because it was so just chaotic that I still can't even process it. But my first season of joining the Thunder, I went through the first round of auditions on like a Saturday. Had Sunday off and like packed for National Sweetheart because I knew I would be leaving that week. Auditions finals were that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So I was going to miss Wednesday and Thursday. So I had emailed the coach and was like, hey, I really want to do this, but I'm going to be leaving. I'll miss 2 days of auditions. Is there any way that I can still come and try out? And I didn't hear from her for weeks. And I was like, okay, she's probably going to say too bad, so sad, better luck next year, which would have been fine. Totally fair if she would have said that. But finally I heard from her and she said, go ahead and come try out and we'll see what we can do. I made it through the first round, was getting ready for finals, and she said, Monday and Tuesday will be your audition, and hopefully that's good enough. And you'll just have to go with that. And I was like, yes, ma'am, that's what I'll do. So I did auditioned on Monday, did interviews, and then a part of one of the dance portions of the audition. And then Tuesday or Monday evening, actually, she decided to teach us an entire second half of a routine. So I thought I was going to audition by myself on Tuesday evening with half of a routine, which was going to be super easy. Plot twist, she taught us the whole routine. So I had 24 hours to learn, memorize, practice an entire routine to then be able to audition it by myself, which we auditioned in groups. So I was terrified. So I go through the process Monday, Tuesday. I do Tuesday's audition. I stay late, do my part of the audition alone by myself. It was the most nerve-wracking experience. Then left Wednesday morning, got about 2 hours of sleep, left Wednesday morning to go to National Sweetheart. Found out, was it Thursday or Friday? I think it was Thursday. I don't even remember.
It was during rehearsal.
I think it had to have been a Thursday. It was on stage. My watch starts like going crazy. And I look down and it's like, congratulations, you're a Thunder girl. So I remember like the girls around me were like, what? Like, because everybody knew we were all waiting to see. It was like we were all auditioning. And once I was like, I made it, we all got to hug and celebrate and cry and it was just so much fun. So yeah, it was crazy. It was a heck experience. Didn't know if I was going to get the opportunity to do it, but I did, made it, just finished my first season, just starting my second season with the Thunder. So it's been wonderful.
Oh, yeah, it was so exciting and exhilarating in that
It
moment. We were
was.
all so happy for
It
you.
was. It was.
But what are your plans for kind of your future dance career, and what kind of skills do you think it's given you professionally working kind of at this level as a dancer?
Right, right. So I would love to be able to say, I want to dance on Broadway, or I want to move to a bigger, market, maybe an NFL team in Dallas. There's all these great things that can come from this level of professional dancing. However, those aren't really on my list, which a lot of people are always shocked by. I'm very happy right here in the heart of Oklahoma and Oklahoma City as a Thunder girl. I think this is a great community. I think it's a great sports market. There's a lot of benefits and the plus sides to the entire experience. So for me, as far as dancing professionally, this is probably where it'll stay. I say that, check back with me in a couple of years, because sometimes I create a plan and life is like, not quite, and something else ends up happening. So we'll see where it takes me, but I'm very content where I am. I think overall, it's taught me a lot professionally, personally, in my professional career outside of dance, in my professional career of dance. It's really taught me a lot. I think it's taught me the importance of team and team camaraderie and being a good teammate. Especially, we're all at this level. We're assigned to do a job, and we're expected to do it well, and we all have to be at our best all the time. And so you learn to really rely on your teammates, because it's unrealistic to be at your best all the time. But if you have someone that is lifting you up to your best, if you can't get there yourself, having someone to help push you the little few inches up to your best self, it's just great. So it's really taught me the importance of being a good teammate and a team leader. It's also just taught me how much a community can stand behind one thing, and the impact a community can make when they're all united. So it's been really interesting. It's been hard, it's been challenging, but it's been extremely rewarding.
Yes, working on the team, I think, is huge, and knowing how to depend on other people and then also be somebody that they can depend on
Right.
themselves.
Yeah.
As somebody who also used to be a dancer a long time ago, that was huge, because I feel like we go through so much of our life kind of on a solo path. Like school was very solo. When I was doing piano, it was very solo. But like dance was the one place where it was very much, we're here in a group together. Yeah. And if we're not all in sync, then it's going to look like a disaster.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yes, it's really true.
And speaking of teams, what is the team like that is supporting you as Miss Oklahoma USA and getting you ready for Miss USA? Or do you have some really good people in your circle? And what would you tell other girls who want to go to Miss USA someday about kind of establishing that right circle of support?
Right. So I am extremely blessed to have an incredible group of people around me that are extremely supportive, that have the same goals as I do, the same vision, that are working towards the same outcome. It's been great. So for me, it's really about having those people that align with what I'm working towards, and also accepting that the people that maybe don't or aren't supporting me in the way that I need to be supported, it's okay not to have them in my circle. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say, thank you so much for your advice or your critique, and just, let it go in one ear, not the other. Because as a title holder, whether that be at a local, state, national level, international level, as a title holder, you have a lot of people that are looking at you, and oftentimes they mean well. They're going to give you advice, or give their thoughts, or tell you, oh, well, I think you just look better in blue, when really you have always dreamt of wearing white. There's always going to be people that are going to give your advice or their advice, and it's okay not to necessarily receive it. Of course, listen, acknowledge, yes, oh my gosh, I've never thought of that, thank you, and then move on and do exactly what you want to do, because at the end of the day, you're the only one on that stage. So I think if I would give advice to any title holder competing for any title, really, it's okay not to have a huge circle. if you just have 3, 4, 5 people who are supporting you the exact way that you need to be supported, whatever that looks like for you, that's okay. Having 20 people sometimes is just too much noise. It's too many opinions, it's too many thoughts, and it can really start to mess with you and your mental well-being, and it can cause unnecessary stress. So it's okay to have a small group. It's okay to have a small support system as long as they're supporting you in the way that you need.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Having all those voices, and as somebody who's been competing in pageants for a few years, there's always somebody who has
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and for some reason they feel completely comfortable voicing that opinion to you,
Yep.
even
Mm-hmm.
if they've never met you before, even
Yeah.
if it comes off as something, kind of rude, they're completely
Yeah.
comfortable with it. And it's
Yeah.
so weird.
It really is. And it's, I don't know if it's just that I don't know if I'm just noticing it more or if it's just coming more. But when I tell you somebody always has something to say, they really always have something to say. And it took me a while to kind of, and so that's, if anything that I could impart on your listeners, it would be that, it it's going to come. The opinions, the critiques, the judgments, they're going to come. And for a while it really kind of bothered me, and I was like, man, like, oh, this person's right. I maybe I should have gone with a purple instead of pink, or oh my goodness. And so something else I've learned is to keep things to yourself. It's okay to be private, because the second you've picked out your dream interview outfit, and it is this wonderful pantsuit, and you send the picture to Aunt Sally and Uncle Ben and whoever else, and well, Aunt Sally says, well, I thought you were going to wear a dress. Why are you wearing a pantsuit? And suddenly you're like, is Aunt Sally right? Maybe I should be in a dress and not a pantsuit. And there's no need to even, so it's okay to keep some things private. There's things even in my journey now as preparing for Miss USA that very few people know. Very few people know the color, very few people know the style, very few people have seen the pictures, because I want to keep those things private. I want them to be a surprise, and I don't want anything to mess with how confident and beautiful and great I feel in the things that I have chosen for Miss USA.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Agree. You don't owe anybody
Yeah,
outside of your close circle any of that
right.
information. They can
Very
find
true.
out when they see it,
But
when it
everybody
actually
else,
happens.
and it looks great. Yep, and they're gonna
Yeah.
love it because they're gonna see how much you love it on stage, or
Yes.
after you come out of the interview room, they're gonna see how great you feel.
Yeah.
You're going to feel good, and no one can argue with that. So I agree. Keep it secret. Let it be a surprise.
Yes. It reminds me of when I was shopping for my Miss Teen USA dress. I went for something that was totally different than what we had envisioned. And it was like really out of my comfort zone. It was like kind of flowy with an overskirt when I was really used to like the mermaid style. This
Right.
was back when mermaid was more popular.
Yeah.
And my director she was like, Hannah, I know it's not what you usually do, but your face, when you put it on, it just like lit up. And
Yeah.
and so I think that's something that somebody who is just offering a 1 second opinion, they
Yeah.
weren't there for that moment. They
Yeah.
didn't see how it made you feel.
Feel
And
right.
and so how can they know
Right.
really from the outside perspective? So
100%.
yes. Okay, we're running up on time, so I do want to ask, how can we keep up with you and your journey to Miss USA? Are you on social media? Where can we find you?
Right. Yes, absolutely. I would love, all of the support as I go on, and I'd love for everybody to keep up with the journey. So my personal Instagram is a great place to start. It's Ashley Ehrhart, ASHLEY _EHRHART. There's also the Miss Oklahoma USA Instagram, which is Miss MISSOK USA. You can find me on both, on Facebook with both my personal and the title of Miss Oklahoma USA. TikTok at Miss OK USA. It's all pretty easy and consistent, as well as email. If there's ever anything that needs to be discussed, needs to be talked about, my Instagram or my email is missokusa2022@gmail.com.
Okay,
Yeah, I can't
perfect.
believe that's time already.
I
That went
know.
by so fast. I'm like,
I know.
no.
It goes by really fast.
That was so fast.
Yes.
I'm impressed.
I
I'm
want
like,
to
oh my gosh.
I know. I want to close out. I always ask this. If you have any final words of advice for the audience, whether that is pageant related, dance related, life related, mental health related, just any final word that you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, I think really just, like I said, acknowledge, give yourself grace in it, whatever that may look like for each and every person. Acknowledge the work that you've put in, because you've put in work, you've put in time, sometimes you've put in money, you've put in effort to achieve. Yeah, sometimes the coins have been flowing. You've put in all of that to achieve a dream, and acknowledge that work, because that work is part of the dream. The dream isn't the final goal. If it's the title of Miss Blank, that's not the final goal. The goal should always be, each and every day, kind of like what I had mentioned earlier, that 1% more. Each and every day, you're rewarding yourself because you've put in the work, you've put in the time. Acknowledge how far you've come. Give yourself grace when it gets hard, and never, ever, ever give up, because in the end, what is meant for you will come to you 100,000%. So as long as you continue to strive and move forward, what's yours will come to you.
Thank you, Ashley. It really is. It's all about the journey.
It really
Not the
is. 100%.
destination.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, this has been such a great
Thank
episode. It
you.
was so great to
Yay.
have you.
Thanks for having me, Hannah. It's such
Yes.
a pleasure. I've missed chatting with you, so this was great.
I know. It's always good to catch up. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. We will see you next time. Bye.